program, Dr. Law Mefo and Mazi Tochukwu Ezeoke. You are welcome to this program, Dr. Law Mefo.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you very much. First of all, we know that there is this planned protest on the horizon, and it is geared towards the political class. And I want to hear your opinion, your thoughts on what Nigeria is expecting, because President Bola Tinubu has been urging Nigerians to please have patience with me. I have brought up so many initiatives to make sure that the inflation will go down. And yet Nigerians are saying, no, we are going to protest. So what do you think about the expectations of Nigerians towards the governance of the present government?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I want to acknowledge and have it on record that protest is not riot. Protest is an integral part of democracy and democratic process anywhere in the world. Protest is one certain way the masses ventilate and get government to regain perspective, get government to understand the view, the expectations of the people, which government is not paying sufficient attention to. Yes, the president has said measures are put in place or are being put in place, but until those measures begin to yield fruits, the people cannot say it and understand it. I will avert our attention to two things that must be held responsible for the current crisis the country is facing at the moment. One is the sudden and unplanned subsidy removal. Without any plans whatsoever. You remove subsidy, you made no plans to have at least one or two refineries working in Nigeria. This is a problem. No transportation, in fact, nothing on ground before the removal of the fuel subsidy. And of course, we need to understand that everything about our national life is tied to the fuel. That's the truth. It's tied to the energy mix, the fuel, the electricity, and so on and so forth. The entire gamut you call the energy mix. You don't tamper with it, no nation does, without adequate planning. President Tinubu did not plan before removing the fuel subsidy. So that's the truth. And he didn't stop there. He floated the naira as well. You know, in an economy that is import dependent, when you are floating your naira, you are saying that your local currency should find its level against world global currencies, the yuan, the yen, the dollar, the pound, the euro. That's a simple logic that naira must find its level. Naira can't find its level without export base, without external reserves, and that is exactly what collapsed the economy. The combined impact of naira flotation and sudden fuel subsidy removal without any base, without any foundation. I just mentioned too, export. You're not exporting anything. You can go back to the Bureau of National Bureau of Statistics and find that Nigeria's export is still 75% crude oil dependent. And even that crude you no longer have. Let me mention something here before we even begin to look at what the president is saying, what sense he can make. See, there is what you call joint ventures that is undertaken by NNPCL with the IOCs, International Marketing Corporations. Nigerian crude for the past 10 to 20 years has been sold in advance. We are at the moment producing about 1.4 million barrels a day. What goes to the commitment, the loan we took, using the crude oil, crude to back it up? That's what I mean by forward sales. That means we took loans in
Dr. Mefo, are you there? I seem to network. May I also acknowledge the presence of
what you are producing in Nigeria as we speak, what you are producing in Nigeria as we speak, 1.4 million to 1.6 million, more than 800,000 barrels go to the servicing of these debts. It doesn't stop there. The balance you have also, in fact, let me summarize it by saying that what is available to Nigeria as a country in a crude oil export is not up to 400,000 barrels a day. And that is your main source of foreign exchange. And yet you are floating your naira. You are not exporting anything, even your crude. You are exporting 20 to 30% of your crude, and you're floating your naira. What kind of crazy policy is that? Who advised it? You can't afford to float your naira when you are not exporting. That's the truth. So apart from the issue of the sudden fuel subsidy removal, they also floated the naira, and now you can't even go back on those policies because they tried to go back. As we speak now, they are back trying to subsidize fuel. Yes, there is evidence that there is subsidy returning. In fact, a document that came out recently from the Ministry of Finance, Minister of Finance desk particularly, shows that the government has a budget of 5 point something trillion for subsidy, for fuel subsidy. So if you remove the subsidy and collapse the economy, you are returning subsidy, and the fuel pump price hasn't gone back significantly. Even if it doesn't go back to 197 naira per liter that it was, it ought to have at least gone down, maybe to 300 naira per liter, but that is not what you get. Now, when it comes to the naira itself, floating the naira, if you want to, for example, force the naira under 1,000, force the dollar under 1,000 naira, there is implication. There has to be massive inflow of a foreign exchange, of dollar, for you to be able to do that kind of a thing. Where is it going to come from? That is why the CBN is asking the banks to turn in the money they have in domiciliary accounts that are dormant or exceeding certain limits. That in itself will show the desperation. That is why the government is even looking to the direction of Nigerians in diaspora to do something about salvaging the economy. And finally, so that my brother and friend, Ezoke, can intervene. You know, the policies, these two policies, are exactly why you have hardship, nothing else. And the third, which is actually angering the people, is that we are in this economic crisis, and the government is still into ostentatious spending 21 billion naira to build the house, the vice president's house. The question is, where was Osibajo living? Osibajo was vice president a year ago. Was he staying in a hotel? He was living in the vice president. Why don't you renovate that, knowing that you need money at this critical point in time? They didn't stop there. They distributed SUVs, 160 million to the senators and House of Reps members, For what? They didn't stop there. The president, we read in the Sahara Reporters and other places, that despite the fact that you don't even have, you don't have a budgetary allocation or approval for it, has he actually purchased a jet, a presidential jet for about $100 million, using another $50 million to configure it, according to Sahara Reporters. It doesn't stop there. You look further, you will see that the government is at sea. They don't, in fact, they have continued on the trajectory of ostentatious living, whereas Nigerians are dying out of hunger. A mutu of Gari now is 500 naira. You know, so the point I'm making.
Excuse me. Please. I can't see you. Turn your video on, I can't see you. Your video has been for minutes now. Okay.
It's freezing, I don't know why. You know, so let me summarize here. What I'm saying is there are terrible policies that are not working. And the fear, I was just, before we came on air, myself and it's okay is even saying that, look, you can't even go back. That is where the danger is. And the government is in a quagmire. The government cannot, look, you took loans for projects. Where are the roads? Where the loans you took, for which you mortgaged the nation's crude in advance, where are the projects? There are projects they are initiating now without even looking at the critical infrastructure. Let me give you an example. The Lagos-Calabar Super Coastal Highway, of what value is that to Nigeria now when you don't have any motorable highway connecting the regions in the country? So where is the wisdom in this kind of policies being advanced by the Tinubu government? And the Tinubu government is not committed to probing the Buhari administration. There is no such commitment. The cesspool, the elephant in the room, remains the NNPC Limited. NNPC is still being run by Melekiari. Melekiari chaired the sleaze in that sector, and you still kept him there. You said you are the Minister of Petroleum, and we can't see in fact, even at 700 naira per liter in Abuja here, there is no fuel. I bought black market yesterday to go home. There is no fuel, even at 700 naira a liter. So you can look at it. The protest is justified. If that is the only way the government can listen,
I've gotten your point. I've gotten your point, sir.
You know, it has to happen. And threatening people will not solve the problem. All the security army, I was listening to the army today. They are talking about that they will not allow Nigeria to degenerate into anarchy. That is not what they should be saying. I heard the IGP of police saying almost the same thing. That's not what they should be saying. They should be making elaborate arrangements to agree with the protesters on the routes they will take, and the army and the police will protect them.
Dr. Mefo, I've gotten your point, sir. I've gotten your point.
Yes,
I'll come back to you.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that incisive opening remark. But before I move to Master, let me acknowledge the presence of a third guest here, Mr. Haniel Sunday Moses. You are welcome to this program. All right, I'll come back to you later. Mr. Maze is okay. Now, you've heard what Dr. Mefo said, but I would like to draw your attention to the various initiatives our president has so far instituted. For example, the CNG buses he promised to distribute across Nigeria. Then he has also instituted an economic presidential committee to look into the situation of inflation. And of course, we know that in August, Dangote refinery as well as the refinery at Port Harcourt will start, according to the government, will start pushing out fuel. So there are other policies instituted. Then the House of Assembly, House of Reps, I mean to say, decided to cut their salaries by half to ensure that Nigerians are switched. All these things are not getting Nigerians curtailed, their attention. Why? What specifically are the demands of Nigerians? Briefly, you have just 5 minutes to say this.
I believe you may have seen the demands of the young Nigerians who are wanting to go on the streets to protest. The things you've railed out so far are not assuaging them, and I don't blame them. One thing, and the first foremost thing that the government have failed to do, which angers the young people, is curtailing corruption. Now, we are in a nation where people are hungry. There has not been genuine effort by the government to show the masses, we feel your pain, and we can do with real cost. There was no need for government and another arm of the legislators to have engaged in that humongous budget of buying cars for themselves for the tune of 160 million per one. Whereas we have local manufacturers here that if you, as a government, have any atom of respect for the people you claim to govern, there is no reason why you should not be looking at NORD, that is the North, IVM, Geely, GAC, Meccano, even Peugeot in Kaduna. So there are about 6 coupling and manufacturing plants that deals with cars in Nigeria. And none of those SUVs would have costed anything between 35 to 40 million marks. Now, the question is, they have shown the young ones that they do not believe in what they say. And as long as you do not believe in these things that you keep blabbing, it is very hard for people to. My good brother there, Dr. Lomefo, mentioned, why do you have to go on like a mad seller just to build a house for the vice president? Well, someone will say, oh, that house was not started by them, but why would we have to, in a time that everyone is cutting cost, against all sense of reason, you've gone in to do that? Now, we have a president that in its presidential fleet has over 8 aircraft. People, it is, I mean, you can't go borrowing money from your neighbor who has a bicycle, whereas in your garage, you have 8 cars. And the neighbor is looking at you thinking, is my neighbor actually right, or has he gone mental on bunkers? Because the wisest thing that everyone should be expecting you to do is to do away with 3 or 4 of those fleet. Then before you talk about acquisition of 1, assuming they've sold 3 and said, oh, in selling 3, we have $90 million. Then we need $10 million to buy. I mean, to buy another one, it will make a lot of sense. And, I don't think there will be this hula baloo about the whole thing. People would probably understand. So my point here is, while I think the people are insisting on this protest, is very simple. The people have not seen commitment from their leaders to say we are cutting costs, and because of this cost, XYZ will happen. The people no longer believe them. I hear argument, oh, the government is only 14 months in office, why protest? How old was Goodluck Jonathan in office when Ojota took place? Goodluck won an election. Goodluck was sworn in May 2011. Ojota happened January. Please, from May to January, how many months was that? Right? That Goodluck was barely 8 months in office. Uhuru Kenyatta in Kenya, President Ruto in Kenya is 7-8 months in office, and the protest is happening. And here, Nigerians have given you double the time, these two incidents here, because we have to benchmark. And you're telling us, oh, it's not enough. Listen, any person who is serious, any president, any government that is serious, 1 year in office is more than enough to set the record and to set the foot with which you want to work with. It didn't take him 24 hours to remove fuel subsidy. The first subsidy is gone, and people shouted, oh, no, this is not well thought out. No, 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 you are Igbo. That's why you are shouting, Haba. Oh, because you supported P2B, you lost an election. That's why you are shouting, Haba. When did we reduce governance to ethnicity? When did we reduce governance to everything must be, anything you talk about, any policy that you criticize is because you are from a certain ethnic region? Well, the chicken has come home to roost. Then even now, when people say, they don't know who the sponsors of this protest are, well, people are now telling them, you can go back to 2011, you can clearly see the sponsors, because the sponsors of the protest made certain, demands that if you play them today, you would think that video was recorded last night, because the demands they made in 2011 are still here with us, and none of them, those that made the demand, have not bothered to deal with them. So the whole point bothers that the government appears so unserious, and the government actually has not tried in any way, shape, or form to talk about dealing with corruption. The only reason why we pay subsidy is because of the government's inability to tackle the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is not any other thing but corruption. It is unimaginable. In your statement or your question to me, you talked about Dangote working and NMPC working. Well, Dangote will have seen it. The same Dangote that you and I think is working is what they are fighting. Why? Because the same people want to keep importing. How many times have they told us that Port Harcourt is going to work? Suddenly, they are now telling us, oh, believe us this time around, that we are now telling you the truth. Hello, meaning you've been lying to us before. Once fooled, you can't fool us again. The thing is that Nigeria is in a dire situation that sadly, from the dance step of the current leadership, I'm here to basically bust your bubble. I have no iota of faith that these men, current men that we have here, will deliver anything. Look at in the last 48, 72 hours, the amount of meeting that they've done. When was the last time you heard about the Federal Executive Council meeting? When was the last time that you heard that the president had dialogue or had a meeting with the traditional rulers? When was the last time the president, who is now in office for 14 months, getting to 15 months,
Thank you very much.
sat down to speak with the press? Can't he speak to you? Are you not a Nigerian?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for your remarks. Now let's move to the third guest. Mr. Moses, can you hear me? Turn your audio down.
Hello, good morning. I'm very happy speaking to you. Concerning these issues of, are you hearing me?
Wait, you are one of those fanning the embers of this protest. You are one of the spearheads. So what exactly do you want to achieve by this protest? What do you think will be the advantages? What will be achieved? You are convinced that this thing will be achieved after this protest has been conducted?
I think we have a lot to achieve if we carry on the protest coming August, because the way things are going to in today's Nigeria, we don't have faith in politicians them having any good things toward, or any good idea or good things towards the Nigerian society citizens. And I really appreciate this program. I really appreciate this coming up this online to express my feelings, our feelings, and the feelings of the protesters. I'm so happy. You see, Nigerians have been going through a lot. From Buhari's regime presidency to Tinubu's presidency. We've been suffering hardship in and out. Corruption. This one is endemic corruption, because I don't think corruption will ever end in this country. I don't think so. They will come in during election, promise us heaven and earth. After they get into the office, they sweep all the promises under the carpet, never to look at it again. They forget that it was the citizens that put them into that office. So coming out to protest, I mean, it's just a civilian's idea. Yes, the civilian's own idea of saying or telling the government that we don't need this, we don't like this, we don't need this. So protesting is not a new thing. Even Buhari during Jonathan presidency protests. So we think we will achieve a lot of things, because when we protest, I mean, the government will listen. They will see to what we request of them, demands of them. If they cannot solve all at least 100% of the demands them, at least 50, 75 will be okay. We will take it, especially this economic hardship we are passing through in today's Nigeria. This underdevelopment we are passing through. You know, we experience a lot of things. No power supply. I mean, sometimes you hear power blackouts here, power blackouts here. We don't have a good electricity supply. Nigeria, at this, I think they have up to 5,000 megawatts of electricity in these huge generations. In this pure population of more than 200 million people, it's supposed to be at least 50,000 megawatts. But where are we going? So, to me, well, I don't know. Will you allow me to say this? I think Nigeria is the first state, if not collapsed state, but the first state. But it's our politicians that make us to be in this position. If they listen to our demands, if they take what we asked them to do during their presidency, or what they told us to do, what they told us that they will be doing during their speech, during their elections procedures, them. Well, we will not been protesting. I don't think we've been protesting, because we say at least we have been enjoying that peaceful measures them. I don't know how to put that in there, but I don't know how to put that. I've been enjoying. So I really appreciate, I really like going to protest. And I have a lot of people who have been, galvanizing. I mean, to join me in this protest. I have a lot of them. So we are going, our blackouts are ready. So we are going to protest to show them our hunger and what we are suffering. So when protesting is not the disturbance of peace, just peaceful protest, all right? We will select the street we are going to protest in this our state, Guaibom. We protest peacefully, will not be disturbed lives, will not disturb properties. But the government in protesting, peaceful protest is a violence or discriminatory of human rights. I don't know what, but they forget that corruption, injustice is the main disturbance of peace. So I'm happy to go into the street coming August 1st to show them my hunger.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Moses. Let me go back to Dr. Lomefo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
All right. I said earlier that from August, we are hoping to have Dangote refinery working, refining our petroleum and shipping the product, especially petrol, across Nigeria. Do you think that action will maximally bring down the inflation we are having now? Briefly.
I think so. If they are willing to do it, I think so.
Oh. Mr. Moses, I will come back to you. That question was for
to surely go down. From at least this from my community. So around appreciating if a liter or 270, like was in Buhari's presidency, if even 270, 275, we will appreciate it. If not up to 190 or 175 when it was in Goodluck Jonathan presidency. I think so. It will bring down the inflation rate in Nigeria.
All right, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Mefo? Dr. Mefo, you can answer the question now. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's strange that Nigerians still want to believe this issue of petroleum refineries coming on board. We don't need to hear dates. We want to see fuel from our refineries. That's what we want to see. Don't give us any date, because you've been giving us dates that never worked. So why do we have to believe a new date? That is very fundamental. I don't believe in their August date, and you will see August will come and pass and nothing will happen. That is one level of my answer. The second level is, have we found out why NNPC cannot supply Dangote refinery crude? I mentioned that in my opening remarks. The Dangote refinery cannot get crude from Nigeria for the simple reason that Nigeria has sold much of our oil in advance and doesn't have anything much to spare Dangote refineries. Since Dangote refineries came on board, I think November last year, till date, NNPC has supplied the refinery about is between I think 6 to 7 million barrels, right? Whereas the Dangote refinery has what we call total installed capacity of 650,000 barrels per day, refining capacity. And for 9 months, you have given them only about 6 million. This will show you that we cannot supply Dangote refineries crude. So Dangote refineries is now going outside Nigeria, going to Angola, going to Mauritania, going to even the US to access a crude. Also because the OICs that bought our crude in advance are not prepared to sell to Dangote at the price Dangote refinery is asking for. They are in business, so they will sell wherever they want. And again, you should also know that these IOCs that have gone into joint ventures with the Nigerian Petroleum Company or Corporation Limited, they also don't want refineries in Nigeria to work. That's the point being made by Mazi Ezeoke when he was talking about corruption. They don't want, they will not want to sell to Dangote refinery because they are making much more money, importing fuel into Nigeria. That's where the problem is. So there is so much corruption in it. I told us already that Mele Kyari is still running NNPC for reasons best known to the Tinubu presidency. And President Tinubu is the Minister of Petroleum. The question is why? Now, you hear about crude oil theft. The question is it really crude oil theft or official and unofficial sales of Nigerian oil? Think about the Abacha loot. Abacha loot was crude oil sold on behalf of Nigeria, part of which was paid into Abacha accounts. Are we sure that the same practice is not going on? And we refer to that as crude oil theft. There's so much involved. Even if our refineries, the point I'm making is this, that what is available to Nigeria for total export after the OICs take what they have paid for is not more than 800,000 barrels. Dangote alone needs about 650,000. So if Nigeria will have to sell to make some foreign exchange, where do you get what to give the local refineries, even if they come on board? You know, these are the things that the digital media needs to really investigate. Even if all our refineries come on board, Dangote is 650,000, you know, a refining capacity. The 3 refineries in Nigeria have a combined capacity of about 450,000. So if you combine all of them together, if they are all working, they would require at least 1 million barrels every day, when we cannot even afford to give them 100,000 barrels. So the problem now is not even that refineries are not working. The real problem, which nobody is addressing, is that we don't even have any crude to give them if they come on board. Very fundamental. We don't have any crude left. We sold our crude in advance. What is left is not even enough for us to earn foreign exchange when we sell, when we export. So, faced by this stark reality, what is the fate of Nigeria? Now, when we didn't have a crude, when we didn't have crude, we have refinery. Now that we have refinery, we don't have crude. What a country.
All right, I've gotten your point, Dr. Mefo.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Mazi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You talked earlier about cost of governance. Now, one of the demands of those who are going to protest is that they want a situation where the salaries and allowances of those in power, especially the elected ones, are publicly disclosed. Now, how do you see a situation where this public disclosure of salaries and allowances are made to be law? Even when they change, they should be disclosed publicly. How do you see that situation?
You know, before the advent of our dear sister, an icon, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Dr. PhD, there was no way people knew how much states we are getting. It was shrouded in secrecy. Eventually, these things were published online, right? This is how much your state gets. FAC allocation. The same principle, I mean, honestly, that Nigerian even discusses things, it makes you want to puke. You have a rep who you have employed because he's your, he's your employee. You've employed him, you pay him, he's working for you. You are the one paying him, but you don't know how much you pay him. How does it sound? You are the one paying him, but you don't know how much you pay him. He tells you, okay, I'll cut my salary. You don't know how much he earns. You don't know how much he cuts. Does it make sense? Let us look at it that way. And these young Nigerians are saying, we want to know how much you earn. Go create a page on the National Assembly website. In less than maximum 1 hour, you input this information. Maybe it changes every 4 years. Every 4 years, somebody updates it. They all have this information there. We know how much they earn. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's not rocket science. Now, the question is to tell you that everything is still shrouded in secrecy and corruption. If somebody told you, I'm going to cut my salary, but hasn't told you how much that salary is, and hasn't told you how much is cutting, salary, not allowances. So if I ask you now as moderator, how much did they cut? You don't know. I don't know.
But they said it.
Yeah, but
it was in the public domain. It was in public domain. They received 600,000 naira.
Huh?
They received 600,000 naira a month.
They
salary.
Now, and they cut it into two. You see here, there is a song Osadebe sang. He said, "Onye ugwo ọnwa ezulu, over time I ezulu." That is not the cocoa of the matter. In paper, a governor earns about 438,000 or so, or thereabout. On the paper, president earns, about 1 million, and vice president about 900 or something. Now, what the cocoa of the matter is the, all the emoluments, all the, whatever that is surrounded in it. Some say 14 million, some say 18 million. We don't know. Can they make these informations available? Then if you're cutting, you quote. I repeat and I insist. The government, the people have not seen the clean hands of government to say, actually, we want to do X, Y, Z. How can we, in this time of famine, we have 42 or 44 ministers, right? Why do we need that humongous number of ministers when people are hungry? How do we deal with this? The Nigerian youth are saying, we want to come on the street to protest. Has it ever bothered you that when the president talks, when those around the president talks, when the traditional ruler, while long before was talking, I listened to a video by the Oni of Ife. They came out from the presidential villa and he was talking. All they keep saying is, we don't want this protest because we don't want to destroy Nigeria. We don't want to burn down Nigeria. And I ask, please, these only two questions. In 2011, Nigerians, led by the current people in government, sponsored by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, led a protest at Ojota, the Freedom Square. For how many days, yet not a single life was lost? Why? Very simple. Because the government in power then believed that every Nigerian citizen has a right to protest and a right not to be shot. Eventually, there was one accidental discharge and one single person lost his life, right? Fast forward to 2020. Please, you are in this nation. The Nigerian youth protested for so many days. No life was lost until the night the Nigerian state itself went out to shoot her own citizens. And after that shooting, in anger, those children, having lost and been wounded, burned the toll gate. Now, they keep making reference to that. Oh, if you want to protest in Lagos, go out of Lagos. You say, how convenient. How convenient. You live in Lagos, you pay tax in Lagos. You live in Anambra, you pay tax in Anambra. You live in Kaduna, you live in Birnin Kebbi, and you pay tax there. When it comes to protest, you leave Anambra to go to Kaduna to protest, or you leave Kaduna to go to Imo to protest, or you leave Lagos to go to Zamfara to protest. Isn't that a clear definition of insanity? The question is, why is the government so in panic mode? Why is the government panicking? Because government know they have not lived up to the expectation that they promised the people. Because remember, this is a continuation of the previous government. Yet, after 9 years and 2 months, Nigeria has not improved an iota on the energy generation that we've been generating since the time of Goodluck Jonathan.
All right, thank you very much, Moses. Okay, Mr. Sunday Moses. All right, so we have seen what happened in Kenya.
Yes.
The protest started peacefully,
Yes.
and because of time, it went violent. Not even in Kenya alone, but in Nigeria in 2020, we saw what happened there. So how would you ensure, because I know that you said that you are going to be at the forefront of the protest. So how would you ensure that this protest remains peaceful from start to finish? Briefly, please.
We have contacted the Nigerian police, Akwa Ibom State Command. We send them letters that we will protest. We mentioned the street that we are going to protest in Uyo. and AKs. So before then, I've already asked my co-protesters how we're going to protest, very peaceful, just with our placards, chanting songs. I hope they will listen to our pleas them to protest very peacefully. I think no life will be lost, no property will be destroyed. I think so. I will try to keep everything in place with what we are going to eat, even on that day, what we're going to eat during that protest, everything is set in place. I think the protest will be very, very peaceful. I think so. If the government do not attack us, I don't think we will have any audacity or effrontery to attack the people's them up, attack or make life loss or attack properties. I don't think so. I don't think if they don't attack us, we will not attack them. Why? We will never do that. We have the right to protest peacefully because protesting peacefully is our rights. Is our rights.
Well, it is your right.
Yeah.
Could you please set your camera horizontally? You are using the phone. Your camera.
Yeah.
Turn it horizontally at the horizontal level. Okay, but beautiful. All right, thank you very much. So, what specifically are you demanding from the government that the government is not doing at the moment? What specifically are you demanding from them?
We demanded from government to bring down inflation because of suffering and not, especially when it comes to fuel, when it comes to food items. We demanded they should bring down those things down, the price of those things them down. We demanded them to give us a good electric power supply, good motorable roads. We demanded from them to end this corruption. How much you earn, how much you are being paid, your allowances, your salary, let us know. How much you are going to court, let us know. I think if they can do that, I really appreciate them. I think so. But if they cannot give us these things, end this corruption, end this hardship we are suffering, that things, it still hurts in our minds. It still hurts us how we are going to, even our children safe. Sometimes it's not easy to eat 3 square meals a day. It's always of 2. Sometimes once. And those who we elected them to govern us, to represent us, and enjoying flamboyant lifestyle, it pains us. So we need to stop those things then. They should be accountable for what they are doing. They should be responsible for what they are doing. They should be responsible to us, answer us, be accountable. Then when we see all those things coming, I mean, if these things were there before, there would be no reason to protest. But since we don't see them food coming, that's why we want to take to the street to show them how we feel about this corruption, how we feel about this economic hardship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moses. Dr. Lome, in just 60 seconds, tell us how you want the government to end inflation. What actions do you want the government to take?
Yeah, well, for me, government has very limited options, and we are import dependent. That is very critical and crucial factor that must be understood if we have to make any policy prescriptions. Food inflation, or let me even start with the inflation itself. Inflation simply talks about too much money pursuing a too few goods. So it's not a matter of affordability, but a problem of availability. We don't have enough, particularly staple foods. I would recommend that government should target some imports and really like rice, beans, wheat, and some of these basic things we really need. Allow them to be imported, possibly duty-free. If you do so, the food price will crash. Sending 20 trucks of rice to a state is laughable. It cannot even address the hunger in one village. 20 bags of, 20 trucks of rice. It cannot. And we are talking about addressing the crisis, the food crisis, faced by 200 and something million people. So such palliative measures will have to be done away with. It will not help, very, very fundamentally. So this is one aspect. Allow import of specific items. I mentioned some, and make the duty free between now and the rest of the end of the year. You will flood the market. That is one major policy that must be considered without further delay. The other thing they must do, is to really face the reason why farmers can no longer return to farms. Target some states that you call the food basket of the nation, 5 to 10 of them, use the army, the MOPO, and safeguard the farmers so that they can return to farm.
All right.
Once you do this, there will be internal production, and you are importing as well to supplement and complement. Once you do this, you are good to go. And the last thing government must also do, peg the price of fuel between 300 and 400 naira, even if it means going to borrow money to keep it so, please do so. Peg the price of dollar to the naira to nothing more than 1,000 naira. Borrow money to defend it. It is worth it. In the long run, our economy will reopen again, and the economy will buoy. Whatever we have incurred will be taken care of.
Thank you very much.
These are the 4 critical policies that must be implemented like yesterday.
Thank you very much. Mazi Ezeoke, your final words, please. The government, and as well as those who are protesting, advise them to ensure that the protest becomes peaceful.
Well, honestly, having listened to the young ones, the younger Nigerians wanting to protest, I have no iota of reason to doubt them. My advice basically is that they have to stay on the trajectory of keeping it the way they want it to happen. But my greater advice goes to the government, because government controls the coercive power. They have the power to hijack things, because, I mean, they've done it before. And sadly, 4 years ago, the same APC government, we saw Nigerian DSS, Nigerian secret police. We saw them moving with SUVs, Nigerian police vehicles, picking street urchins, pointing to them places to go and damage stuff. These things are on camera. Now, 4 years later, not a single person, not police officer, not DSS was prosecuted. But they rather want to say that the Nigerian youth are these ones doing this. Again, even the Kenya you use as an example, there wouldn't have been any crisis in Kenya if the protesters were not shot. All I'm asking for Nigerian police to do, very simple. Please guide these protesters. You have asked them to show you the streets where they want to march. Deploy your men, guide them. You are not buying a cup of gari cheaper, you're not buying tomato cheaper, neither are you paying electricity tariff cheaper than anybody. These kids are your kids. These children are yours. Protect them, let them ventilate their anger for how long it takes, then there will be peace. If you do that, I promise Nigerians, and I guarantee that we will not have any life lost. Ensure that you also provide them medical services in case if any of them faints or anything. I mean, this is what people are asking for. This issue of protest is not war, protest is not destruction. I do not know where they are coming from, unless if government is telling us that is actually what they want to, on their own, turn this protest into, in order to give the younger ones a bad name. Thank you very much.
Mazi Tochukwu Ezeoke, Dr. Lombefo, and Mr. Haniel Sunday Moses, thank you very much for being present in this program. We appreciate your contributions. Of course, we are asking the government to do the needful to ensure that this protest is minimal, and what led to it, what will lead to it, is no longer there. Thank you very much, and we hope to meet you next time.
Thank you.
Mm.